The primary aim of this solidarity budget is to take further steps to save jobs and protect the livelihoods of our people during this temporary period of heightened measures.
Good evening, you're watching The Big Story with Haryanto Diman. I'm Olivia Quay, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom.
In Parliament today, Deputy Prime Minister Heng Keat announced a $5.1 billion solidarity budget to help Singapore cope with the one-month circuit breaker. This is the third round of support measures after the Unity budget in February and the Resilience budget in March.
Altogether, the government's response to COVID-19 will cost $59.9 billion, or 12% of Singapore's GDP.
The primary aim of this solidarity budget is to take further steps to save jobs and protect the livelihoods of our people during this temporary period of heightened measures. We also help businesses preserve their capacity and capabilities to resume activities when the circuit breaker is lifted. I will also provide direct cash in hand for households to help tide families through this difficult period.
All Singaporeans aged 21 and above will receive a one-off payout of $600 by April 14th. This comprises a new payout of $300 and $300 brought forward from the Care and Support Package, which was announced earlier. Other cash payouts, including the remaining $300 or $600, will be brought forward to June instead of August.
Firms in all sectors will get a 75% wage subsidy for local employees, up from 25% under the Enhanced Job Support Scheme. The first payment will be given out in April instead of next month to help with cash flow.
Many employers also hire foreign workers on work permits and S passes. To ease the labour cost of such firms during these 4 weeks, I will waive the monthly foreign worker levy due in April. We'll also provide employers with a foreign worker levy rebate of $750 for each work permit or S-Pass holder, based on previous levies paid in 2020.
The Self-Employed Person Income Relief Scheme, which provides direct cash assistance, will be extended. About 100,000 self-employed people will now be eligible for the scheme.
We will broaden the support for self-employed persons. First, I will extend SERS to automatically include self-employed persons who also earn a small income from employment work. Second, I will raise the current annual value threshold up from $13,000 to up to $21,000 to include those who live in some condominiums and other private properties.
Now, to help break down the measures announced in the Solidarity Budget, we're joined by Associate Editor for the Straits Times, Vikram Khanna. Vikram, in what's called the Solidarity Payment, every adult Singaporean will get a $600 one-time cash payout. Of course, these are extraordinary circumstances meant as greater support to help us tide over this pandemic. So, how does this cash payout compare with previous years?
As far as I can tell, this is the biggest single cash payout that I have seen, and it goes to all Singaporeans. It's not means tested. It goes to everyone. So I think this is quite significant, but it's a temporary measure. It's a one-off payment. I think there are more important things that will benefit the majority of people and the majority of workers in Singapore than this one. And I think the key here is the job support scheme, the expansion of the job support scheme to subsidize 75% of wages up to $4,600 for all companies, regardless of sector. And I think this will benefit workers across the board and companies across the board, pretty much. So I think this is the biggest portion of the budget.
Well, Vikram, touching on that, is this going to be enough, you reckon, to enable most companies to retain their workers or even to prevent any pay cuts?
Well, whether it's going to be enough, we don't know, because we don't know how long this crisis will last. This is a 1-month reprieve that companies are getting, but it's a huge amount. I mean, it's 3/4 of the wage bill for probably the majority of employees of most companies. So I think it should enable companies that were maybe contemplating layoffs, contemplating even closures, maybe to sort of hold off for a while, at least. After this 1 month, we don't know what will happen. Maybe the measures will be extended, but maybe the epidemic will come under some kind of control, and the circuit breaker could be lifted. We don't know yet. But as of now, it's a very generous.
Well, Vikram, let's talk about foreign workers. They are a vulnerable group of our society, especially now with 7 workers' dormitories identified as COVID-19 clusters. Now, the foreign worker levy due in April will be waived, and employers will receive a foreign worker levy rebate of $750 for each work permit or S-Pass holder. So on that, how far will it go in ensuring that foreign workers are well taken care of?
Well, it'll definitely help all the companies that employ foreign workers, and this goes across the board. I mean, you have foreign workers in construction, you have foreign workers in manufacturing, you have foreign workers in services, in the F&B sector. So I think it'll help a lot of companies across the board. But again, this is a temporary measure. This is a one-off waiver. We don't know how long this thing will continue, and what will happen in the future. So. But for now, I think this is a helpful measure for all companies that employ foreign workers, which are pretty much across the board in the economy.
Another group, Vikram, that is set to benefit as well from these new budget measures. DPM Heng enhanced the Self-Employed Person Income Relief Scheme, or SERS for short. What do you make of this extension? Is it necessary?
Absolutely necessary. I mean, I think the main theme in this budget is broadening the support across the board. So we broaden the support for companies, and self-employed people. They are their own company. They are the company, and they are a pretty diverse group. I mean, I think it's hard to discriminate between them. He's extended it. He extended the support for this group to even some of those who live in private property by raising the threshold of annual property. So, and these workers span several sectors. I mean, they are both white collar as well as blue collar. They extend Grab, taxi drivers, maybe self-employed accountants, and so on. So I think this is a pretty significant move. But the broadening of the support is what is the important point.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Vikram. That was Associate Editor Vikram Khanna helping us make sense of the Solidarity Budget, which was announced earlier today. And do let us know what you think of this third round of measures by leaving your comments below.
Also making headlines, operations at Changi Airport Terminal 2 will be suspended for 18 months from May 1st. Transport Minister Khaw Boon Wan noted that one terminal is enough to handle the current traffic at the airport. The suspension will allow current upgrading works at T2 to be sped up and shorten the project time by up to 1 year. Affected airlines will be reallocated across the remaining terminals.
Meanwhile, Singapore recorded the highest single-day spike with 120 new cases yesterday. 4 were imported and the remaining 116 were local cases. Now, this brings Singapore's total cases to 1,309.
A 6th patient died on Saturday from the infection. The 88-year-old male Singapore permanent resident had no recent travel history. He had a history of heart and kidney disease, cancer and diabetes.
In light of this, as well as Singapore's record single-day spike, National Development Minister Lawrence Wong reiterated the purpose of the circuit breaker measures, which kick in tomorrow.
If your business is not in the list of essential service, then you either have to telecommute 100% or you stop work altogether. There are no two ways about this. Right? It's straightforward. Likewise, for individuals, the rules are very clear. You stay home, do not go out only for essential activities, which would include work that is considered essential, or buying food and groceries, or if you were to do an individual exercise or with your immediate family member, these are allowed. Other than that, you have to stay home. Right? I think making these adjustments will be difficult. We understand it's not easy. Many Singaporeans have set routines and habits. The elderly like to hang out in the hawker centers and coffee shops with their friends. The young people like to go out with their buddies and their friends in malls and in places to hang out too. But all of this cannot be tolerated anymore.
Meanwhile, 2 foreign worker dormitories which have seen large numbers of COVID-19 cases have been gazetted as isolation areas to stem the virus spread in the community. This means around 20,000 workers at S11 dormitory at Punggol and Westlight in Toh Guan will be quarantined in their rooms for the next 14 days. The foreign workers who are in essential services will be housed separately.
S11 dormitory now has at least 62 cases, while Westlight Toh Guan dormitory has at least 28. There are about 7 known foreign worker dormitory clusters now.
The Health Ministry also confirmed that the Singapore Expo will be the second community isolation facility to house patients who are recovering or have milder symptoms. This is so that hospitals can be freed up to care for patients who need more significant medical attention. There are no details yet as to how many patients the facility could potentially hold. The first such site is the Resort and TUC in Pasir Ris, which can accommodate up to 500 people.
Meanwhile, a couple has been arrested for allegedly leaking a draft media statement to the public on the COVID-19 school closures before it was officially released. The 37-year-old woman and 38-year-old man were arrested for the offence of wrongful communication of information under the Official Secrets Act. Now, the government takes a serious view of any wrongful communication of confidential information and will deal firmly with anyone who does so. Now, those who are convicted of the offence can be fined up to $2,000 and jailed for up to 2 years.
Now, there are now more than 1.2 million COVID-19 cases around the globe. Health officials in the US warn that the next 2 weeks will be crucial as the number of cases climbed to over 337,000, with at least 9,600 people dead. Of those, 1,344 were reported on Saturday, making it the highest number of deaths reported in the US in a single day.
Spain overtook Italy to become Europe's coronavirus epicenter with over 131,600 reported infections. Deaths continue to rise, but at a slower pace. The current toll sits at more than 12,600.
Over in Italy, officials reported 525 deaths yesterday, the lowest number of fatalities in more than 2 weeks. The country has been in lockdown for almost a month.
And Germany has just over 100,000 cases and close to 1,600 deaths. It's one of the countries with a high case count but relatively low death rate.
And mainland China reported 39 new cases yesterday, along with a rise in asymptomatic cases. Of those showing symptoms, 38 were imported cases. There was 1 new locally transmitted infection.
Elsewhere, South Korea said that it will extend its intensive social distancing campaign in a bid to curb the rate of infections to around 50 a day. Its efforts have allowed the country to mostly maintain its daily cases at around 100 or fewer, but the health minister said it's too early to be at ease.
According to reports, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will declare a state of emergency as early as Tuesday. This will give governors in hard-hit regions legal authority to tell people to stay home and businesses to close. The Japanese government is also readying a stimulus package of hundreds of billions of dollars to be rolled out this week.
And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was admitted to hospital for tests yesterday after showing persistent symptoms 10 days after testing positive for the virus. Downing Street highlighted that this was a precautionary step and that Mr. Johnson remains in charge of the government. The UK saw a surge in the number of cases with close to 48,000 confirmed cases and nearly 5,000 deaths.
Back home, bars, cinemas and all other entertainment outlets have been closed since March 26, almost 2 weeks ago.
And one of the groups struggling is musicians, those who play in these bars and hotels.
We're now joined by jazz pianist, singer, composer and music educator Jeremy Monteiro. Hi Jeremy. Now Jeremy, it's been nearly 2 weeks since all entertainment venues were ordered to close. You're an established, well-known musician. How have you been personally affected?
Well, actually, there's a lot of work that I do outside playing small gigs in clubs as well as concerts. For example, my 60th birthday concert on June 6th has been postponed to December. And also, I was supposed to go and do some recording in Germany. in April this month, and followed by some shows in France, in Paris, and all that has been cancelled. So I suppose I can say that nearly half of my income has been taken away. I mean, thankfully, I also run the Jazz Association Singapore, a charity registered in Singapore, and we still are working very hard to come up with programs to be online, to continue our mission even during this period of circuit breaker and during the period of COVID-19.
Well, Jeremy, in addition to that, you know, there are tons of other up-and-coming and, for lack of a better word, less successful musicians who are struggling during this period. So what is your advice for them?
You know, there are actually today the government announced, the BPM Heng announced some further measures for self-employed people and persons. And I think that this will enlarge the number of freelance, not just musicians and artists, but of all the different disciplines to get some help from the government. I think this actually is going to bring up a lot more, help a lot more musicians. As to whether it's completely appropriate, I think not, a lot of people at agencies and so on, like NAC, will definitely be looking into it. But I think that it's the first thing is to try and see whether you qualify for assistance. And on the other hand is that, you know, we musicians, we must find innovative ways, because now we live in this what is known as a VUCA world, right? So not just COVID-19, but things will start to happen which are difficult for the whole world going forward. So we need to, I think, look at ways that we can innovate so that we can monetize our efforts. Right now, many musicians are just doing free live streams and broadcasts. In my case, I've been lucky. We've gotten some support for the Jazz Association Singapore through donations while I'm doing my live stream. But you know, our musicians eventually, for example, there's a very easy PayPal link you can just go on and create. Like, for example, if your name is Jeremy Monteiro, you can go and create a paypal.me / Jeremy Monteiro, and people can directly click that link and pay you sort of like a tip box sort of way, you know. And also Razer, the company Razer, has actually recently done a live stream clubbing as well, and they have actually gotten a really good sort of tip box concept. And people are quite generous. They know that they can't expect the artists or the DJs or the musicians or the other freelancers to work for free. So hopefully more of us will go and find innovative ways of not just providing comfort and soothing the people, but also allow the opportunity for the public to support us during this time as well.
Right. Now, Jeremy, I just want to touch on another aspect. Now, clients of musicians, you know, they have cancelled or postponed events. There'll be a new temporary bill that will be introduced in Parliament this week to prevent an organisation, say, like a hotel or catering firm, from forfeiting a deposit when a function is postponed. Would a similar bill, you reckon, help musicians?
Yes, certainly. You know, of course, if people have paid the deposits and so on and so forth. The trouble with us musicians is very often we don't have any formal contracts with our clients. It's on a WhatsApp, everything, you know, and then some of us do have a contract, and my contract, for example, has a cancellation clause, but you know, it has a force major clause. But I think this, as much as it is like a force major, I think that there should be a caveat for situations like this, a global pandemic or other disasters where you know, the client. But how do you protect the? I mean, you have to be fair to the client as well, right? I mean, they I guess that if they pay a deposit, then they may have to forfeit deposit. But I don't know whether it's fair to expect them to, you know, to cover an event that doesn't happen. You know, so it's very hard. I mean, that's a whole legal thing, and I think it's a little bit out of my sphere to comment on that.
Right. Well, Jeremy, you mentioned earlier that musicians are needing to be a bit more innovative right now. So some of them have turned to streaming their concerts or music online. We see that happening overseas, locally as well. So do you think that will be the new norm? And do you think it is a good idea to actually move some of your performances online so that you can reach a wider audience?
Yes, indeed. For example, you know, we were planning as Jazz Association Singapore to celebrate International Jazz Day, which is a UNESCO International Jazz Day. And that was meant to happen on the 25th of April. IJD is actually on the 30th, but we like to do our concerts on the weekend. so that we get a big crowd. We were meant to do this at the Singapore Botanic Gardens on 25th of April. However, now my team and I are, trying to come up with a way of still commemorating International Jazz Day. We can't really even do like a live stream with a group of musicians together because that really doesn't observe our safe distancing policies and guidelines. So we are just trying to find a way where we can get our musicians to do something that we can put together for the public to see and still commemorate this important day. I mean, UNESCO has stated that 30th April is International Jazz Day, and still celebrate International Jazz Day.
Well, Jeremy, on that note, you reposted a video from 2014 of you jamming with Minister Lawrence Wong. It definitely showed us a different side of him. Tell us more about the story behind the video.
Well, firstly, Minister Lawrence Wong, for those who have had the pleasure of meeting him personally, is a very down-to-earth person who just has no airs about him. And, his persona as minister is so much fortitude that he speaks to us when he does the briefings. But I know he actually is a very, very good, better than semi-professional musician as well. He also during his college days used to play, with his friends and jam with his friends and all that. And my friend Danny Long from Tinto told me that, hey, Lawrence Wong is a pretty good blues guitar player. So I was playing at this very small, intimate charity fundraiser dinner, and Stephen Riadi was hosting it, and Lawrence Wong was the guest of honor, and there were a lot of people there, and a very small group. It was only like 80 people, but it raised like nearly $500,000 for charity. And someone said to Lawrence Wong, hey, why didn't you come up and jam with Jeremy, And then I kept saying, yeah, why don't you come and join us? And I asked the people, will you donate more if Minister Lawrence Wong comes on? And they all shouted, yes, we will. And he came on and he played the blues really well. And then people responded by donating more to the charity.
I think it's really nice to see ministers in that light,
Absolutely.
It shows a very human side.
Right, only in an official capacity, right?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeremy. Now, we've been speaking to Jeremy Monteiro, jazz pianist, singer, composer, and music educator with more than 40 solo albums to his name. We wish Jeremy all the best. Now, Olivia, I just want to ask you right here, are there any places that, you've missed out now that entertainment outlets are closed?
Well, of course, because, I'm used to going out for a meal or two, but then now that the latest measures, F&B outlets, you can only take away, right? So I think that is the one aspect where I'm really suffering, actually. But, we have to do what we can. It's only staying home for just 1 month. Surely we can do that.
That's right, certainly.
Well, so those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, log on to straitstimes.com and do share with us how you've been affected by the circuit breaker measures.
Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Before we go, we want to stress to our viewers to stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Stay safe, everyone.
Stay home. Stay home. Stay home.
Stay home. Over the past few months, I've witnessed my fellow healthcare colleagues making personal sacrifices to get infected patients back to full recovery.
There are more and more unlinked cases, which means people are passing infection from one to another. I need you to keep safe, and I need you to stay at home, try not to go out. If you have to go out, stay 1 to 2 meters away from anyone.
Because by staying home, you have less chance to get infected, and if you're infected, then you have a less chance to spread.
Because many people are infected and infectious before they develop symptoms. So to protect others, we should try to minimize contact.
The next few weeks will be crucial in our efforts to contain the coronavirus. The healthcare workers, cleaners, contact tracers, all are doing our job for you. You, the public, can help us by staying at home. As the saying goes, we come to work for you, you stay at home for us.
Practice safe distancing. Stay home. Keep yourself safe.
Keep our patients safe.
If you really have to go out to public spaces, remember the following. Maintain good personal hygiene. Wash your hands often with soap and water. If you have to cough or sneeze, cover your mouth and nose and wash your hands after that. Take your temperature twice a day.
So please listen to medical advice and play your part to keep those who are unwell out of public spaces.
We work hard at the clinic to keep everybody safe. The rest of us stay at home and be safe.
We are working very hard at the front line, but we can't do this alone. We need your help. Help us stop the spread.
So please do your part and don't go out unnecessarily. If you have to, try not to touch anything, especially your face. Avoid crowds and wash your hands whenever you can. It will help to stop the spread. So please protect yourself and your loved ones.
This is a time for you to play your part for our country, our friends and loved ones. You are the most important defense in this war. Stay at home.
Stay at home as much as you can. Avoid social gatherings beyond your immediate family. If all of us can do this, we will succeed in overcoming the virus.